Day, Cup of the Word. We're in 1 Peter chapter 3. This chapter deals with varying roles of Christians, and he'll start with the power of a wife who's submissive and the amount of good she can do through that particular role. Remember, last chapter we dealt with submission of all men, and here he's going to specifically dial into the wife's role and the impact she can make in hearth and home by being that kind of a person. He'll also talk about the power of an understanding husband, that a man that has this sort of character to deal with his wife in an understanding way can change his family tree. One verse that kind of catches people up is it'll talk about dealing with your wife as with a weaker vessel. And sometimes it gets people kind of upset. Like, what are you saying, that women are less? It's not weaker in a negative sense. It's weaker in a designed it differently sense. Think of like a vase is different than a 5-gallon bucket. They're both containers, but you deal with a vase in a much different way than you deal with a 5-gallon bucket, because the vase is fragile. But the fragility of it is also what creates its beauty. The 5-gallon bucket's very sturdy, but you really don't want it sitting on your kitchen counter. As a husband deals with his wife in an understanding way, considering the fact that she's designed differently, it has a huge impact on a marriage. And then he'll move back to talking about suffering, and that Christians need to somewhat resign themselves to suffering, that this world is not our home, and a Christian who has in mind that I'm going to have happiness here and that's my goal, well, they're not going to live as God intended. Christ lived this life his entire time knowing that he was here to suffer, he was here to die, he was here to hurt. And he was content with that. And we need to imitate that behavior, that we are here to do God's work, which is hard, and it involves pain, and it involves heartache, but it is worth it. And that our home is eternal, and that's where our peace and tranquility lies. We need to emulate our Savior, who was willing to suffer, to give life, and glorify God. We need to be the same. That's 1 Peter chapter 3. That's your Daily Cup, and we'll see you tomorrow.